A function is a stored function. Functions are very much like stored procedures. They have a name, they're stored in the database, they can be executed again. The only difference is that a function returns a specific value. In other words, it can be embedded and executed in a nested fashion within an expression. Create function syntax. As with create procedure, you use create or replace to replace an existing function. If the function doesn't exist, it doesn't matter, it executes the create option. Again, the parameters in, out, and in, out are exactly the same as with a procedure. Passed in by value, passed out by value, and passed in and out by reference. The data types have the same restrictions in that varchars will be passed in as varchar2 without the specifier at the length of the varchar2. The difference with the function is that it has a return data type or a return clause. Here's the alter function syntax, which simply does a compile exactly the same as the alter procedure syntax. The drop function syntax is the same as procedure, except that it drops a function. Let's look at an example of a function. We've seen this function before. This is a function that converts Fahrenheit values to Celsius. This function is required to return a value because I'm executing it from the command line inside a DBMS output exec procedure. When executing any kind of procedure outside of another PLSQL block or procedure, you use the exec, or short for execute command. It means execute the procedure. So, all this function does is create or replace the function F to C, passes in the number Fahrenheit, defaults it to 0, and returns a number. Here is the function. It's doing a round, Fahrenheit minus 32 multiplied by 5 over 9, and it's rounding to 0 decimal places. The key to the function is this return statement. Note that everything is embedded on a single line in this function. So, let's simply create that function and use the alter function command to compile it. And now let's go and execute it with this code. Again, I'm setting server output on, and then additionally in this function I am enabling the buffer for DBMS output text to be 1 million characters. It's a bit excessive for this function, but if you have a lot of stored procedures outputting a large amount of DBMS output within the procedure, if the buffer exceeds 1 million characters, your output will actually stop and it will crash the procedure it's in at that point in time. So be aware of how much output you're actually sending to the screen with DBMS output. Let's copy this and run this in SQL+. And as we can see, 50 Fahrenheit is 10 Celsius, 70 Fahrenheit is 21 Celsius, 90 is 32, 110 is 43, that's pretty hot, and 32 Fahrenheit is 0. So the function is running correctly. Let's go back to here again and simply drop the function since we don't want it sitting in our concert schema.